two opening songs, Hine Matov, and of course my favorite song for Shabbat, Maya Hayom. Hine Matov Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Before we go to Mayafa Hayom, I commented at the beginning, I said, will the real Rabbi John Kaplan please stand? The second John Kaplan that you see with just my picture looking smugly to the side is my wife, Linda. She signed in my account in Decatur, Georgia. And if she were to take the video, unmute the video so you can see her, you'll see it's what Mayim calls Lulu. Maya Hayom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. And now, before we formally welcome the Shabbat with candles with Patricia Silverman, I invite Linda Blessingame to give a few words of welcome.
Good Shabbos, everybody. It's so nice to see everyone here for this evening Shabbat service. Our service tonight will be led by, as you see, Rabbi John Kaplan. We're so glad to have him here for the next 2 weeks. And of course, with the beautiful music of Christopher and Molly. And speaking of Molly, I want to take this time to congratulate Molly and Andy on the blessing of their new home, and hope it brings them good health, happiness, and a lot of love.
Man, that's lovely. Thank you for that. And now, Patricia, as we all turn back to page 2 and 1, would you lead us in the reading first on page 2 and then the lighting of the candles on page 1?
Thank you. Thank you. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our life, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness remind us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own days be among those who kindle the light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kiddushanu b'mizvotav v'sivanu lehalech ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Amen.
And now we continue in welcoming Shabbat with the words of Lecha Dodi, the poem that says, "Welcome the Sabbath Bride." And you'll find that on page 8 and 7, I believe it is. Yes. Or is it 8 and 9? 8 and 9. We go in the right order this time. Doing verses 1, 2, and 9. And next, we'll continue in song on page 10 with the words of Shalom Aleichem, this beautiful poem that speaks of the ministering angels that accompany us on Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Melech Malchi Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moechem LaShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi
now, as we anticipate words of praise that we recite together, first in the form of the Chatzi Kaddish on page 11, followed by, on page 12, the formal petition of our prayer, of our service with the Baruch Hu. We take a moment and allow our hearts to fill with the blessings that we've enjoyed this past week, the ones we look forward and anticipate in the coming week, all of the ways in which we have reasons to be able to say to God, we praise you, O Holy One, and we thank you. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen. V'yamad yivrachidute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon chayedechu bein Yisrael bagala uvizman kariv v'imaru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbam Mivorach Leolam Ulal Me'almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitradar V'yitale V'yitalol Shemei D'Kudisha Brichu Leila min kabir kata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damiran b'yoma v'himaru. Amen. I invite you to rise. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. On page 13, the top of the page, praise to you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans into infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai ha-ma'ariv aravim. The bottom of page 14. Since we anticipate turning the page for the words of the Shema, we do so with words of love. We say, Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. We praise you, Adonai. You love your people, Israel. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. As we turn the page and join together in the words of Ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol mi'adecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi מצאתך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Together, please. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God, Adonai Elohechem, Emet. On page 18, in a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame forces, oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of the world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing our song of freedom on the shores of the sea. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for you redeem your people Israel in every generation. Baruch atah Adonai Gaal Yisrael. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, for your name's sake. Be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. guard our going and coming, to life, to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haborei sukat shalom, aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al kol Yerushalayim. And now we make a beautiful transition from this moment of Hashkivenu. Literally, now I lay me down to peace, prayer for the evening, to celebrating and rejoicing in this day of Shabbat. The words of Vashamru on page 22. And now we move to the central part of our service, and the tefillah. And as we do, it's also called Amidah, because it's customary to stand. So if this is something that you're able to do, I invite you to do that as we continue on page 23 for the central portion of our service. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעקבות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. Turning back to page 24, we join together in the reading of the English. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah, the great, mighty, and awesome God, transcendent God, who bestows loving kindness, creates everything out of love, remembers the love of our fathers and mothers, and brings redemptions to their children for the sake of the divine name, sovereign deliverer, helper, and shield. Blessed are you, Adonai, Sarah's helper, Abraham's shield. Baruch atah Adonai magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. You are forever mighty, Adonai. You give life to all. You cause the wind to shift and rain to fall. You sustain life through love, giving life to all through great compassion, supporting the fallen and healing the sick, freeing the captive, keeping faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, source of mighty acts? Who resembles you, a sovereign who takes and gives life, causing deliverance to spring up and faithful giving life to all? Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives life to all. Baruch atah Adonai, Michayeh Hakol. In the middle of page 27, together we read, You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. If you're still standing, I invite you to be seated. As we continue on page 29, you are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength in your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha, b'yir'ah na'avod. We continue on page 31 now. We join in our prayer of peace. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people, forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamavarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We praise you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. We pause now for our own personal prayers and our own personal meditation. Oh my goodness, that was beautiful. Thank you, Molly. I also want to say thank you to Christopher. That introduction that you played to the Shalom Rav, people, you need to understand that was not something that was composed by someone else and then published. That was composed on the spot out of the incredible creative heart and mind and hands of Christopher as he led us in a moment of meditation that brought us to that beautiful song that Molly shared. So thank you for that. I was truly moved. The Torah portion for this Shabbat is called Bo and comes from the book of Exodus, chapter 10, through just a portion of chapter 13. It continues the story of the 10 plagues and culminates with instructions on what we are to remember every year at our Passover Seders. So, 10 plagues. Well, I'm sure that many of you are thinking that this is going to be a Devar Torah about our current plague, the COVID-19 virus. And as tempted as that may be, I'm going to keep my focus on this week's portion and the lessons that we can learn from it about the plague of environmental injustice. Over the centuries, so much has been written about the role of the 10 plagues in the Exodus story, the role of God, the role of Pharaoh, questions of responsibility, accusations and denials on who's at fault and who was really responsible, God or Pharaoh. But I would like to look at the 10 plagues from a more modern perspective. And this isn't a novel approach. We are instructed to retell our story of Exodus from Egypt, to instruct our children in every generation of our journey from slavery to freedom. When we look at the world around us, when we really take notice, we see vast areas of our country where land and waterways have become so polluted with pesticides and toxic waste from industrial and agricultural complexes that many residents are told not to drink the water, nor to eat the fish or the vegetation. Our world is being plagued with the devastating actions of countries, including our own, who contribute on a daily basis to global warming and an insidious dependence upon fossil fuels. Our communities are plagued with more than just violent crime and drug addiction. We are plagued with poverty and homelessness. We are plagued with issues of violence against women, violence against children, violence against immigrants, against people of color. Well, the list seems to go on endlessly. We are plagued with the issues of environmental injustice. Gratefully, there are examples where responsible lay leaders are attempting to effect change. One such person in the Arkansas, Tennessee, and Mississippi area is Rita Harris from the Sierra Club. She has been leading the wake-up call to address issues of toxic waste in the economically depressed areas of the tri-state area. Efforts to protect their land, air, water, and health, Mrs. Harris writes, by working with the community to campaign against major polluters, to improve environmental quality and justice for their communities. When you stop to really look around the world, you can see a picture of such hopelessness that you can become completely overwhelmed. You may even find yourself paralyzed, unable to decide what to do now. You say, it's hopeless. There's little or nothing that I can do to make a difference. It's just the way things are. But Jewish tradition stresses hope. It is not by accident that the national anthem for the Jewish people is not only called, but is all about tikva, hope. Words from the great Hillel provide a foundation for us as we reflect on this week's Torah portion. These words are found in that section of the Talmud called the Ethics of the Fathers, which is a collection of rabbinic sayings and teachings, some attributed to various rabbis of old, some sayings left unattributed. And Hillel is quoted as teaching, Im ein ani li mili. If I'm not for myself, mili, who will be for me? Ukshe'ani la'am, it's me, but if I am for only myself, ma'ani, who am I? Ematai. And if not now, when? So what do we do? Will we see the results of our efforts in our lifetime? Well, more than just a probably not. The answer is more likely a simple no. Can our individual efforts make significant changes in our local community, in the world? Well, the answer is, I think, no, not immediately. Remember, the damage to our environment has been generations in the making. I doubt any substantial change will occur in the very near future. So why make the effort? Well, according to Jewish tradition, the answer comes from God at the time of creation. The early rabbis tell us, when God created Adam, God led him around all the trees in the Garden of Eden. God said to Adam, "See how beautiful and praiseworthy all of my works are. Everything I have created has been created for your sake. Think of this and do not corrupt or destroy my world. For if you corrupt it, there will be no one to set it right after you." Well, following this Shabbat, on Sunday morning, our religious school students will be meeting at the Mobile Medical Museum to celebrate Tu B'Shvat. Now, I'm sure that everyone has experienced a Passover Seder where we celebrate our people's freedom from slavery. Well, this Seder celebrates our freedom as well, our freedom and our Jewish responsibility to protect the world that God created for us. Once again, looking to Jewish tradition for guidance, we find a story of an elderly man found digging vigorously, working hard to plant a tree. A stranger passing by observes the old man and points out to him that his efforts are in vain. "You foolish old man," says the stranger, "don't you realize you're elderly and will never live to see the fruits of your labor?" "I know," responds the older gentleman with a twinkle in his eye. "I have no pretensions of living forever. This tree, however, is not for me. I am planting it for my grandchildren, and that is why I haven't a moment to waste." It is this sense of urgency that we bring our students together every year to celebrate this holiday of Tu B'Shvat, to teach the next generation this important Jewish lesson of environmental justice. And there is the story of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who was an important rabbinic sage in the final days of the Second Temple during the Roman occupation of Jerusalem. The following has been attributed to him. "If whilst holding a sapling in your hand, you are told that Mashiach ben David, the Messiah, is about to arrive, first plant the sapling and then go out to receive the Messiah." Imagine this story occurred during the most tragic and tumultuous time in our people's history, during the devastating and tragic occupation of Israel by the Romans. Everyone, including the early rabbis, were praying fervently for the coming of Mashiach ben David. His arrival would herald in a time of peace and justice for everyone. And yet, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai says, first, remain grounded in what is needed at this moment. Then go and greet the future. So what can we do? Well, many of you have already found answers to that question. I don't know how this works for the greater Mobile area, but many cities have a weekly recycling program. We place our recycle bin at the street every week for pickup and recycling. The trick here is to actively participate in this. Take the time to separate the trash from the recyclable. Don't just throw it all out at one time. And if you're like me, it's usually late Sunday evening before I remember that the next morning is our day for pickup. It is often so very tempting to say to myself, "Oh, I'll move the cans to the street in the morning." Well, on those occasions where I have succumbed to this rationalization, I find that by the time I actually get to the cans to the street, I'm too late. No question, it will take effort on our own parts. In addition, so many of today's cars are designed to improve gas mileage and reduce the pollution of the engine's exhaust. Many people are even choosing to drive hybrid or totally electric vehicles. But one of the plagues for today is the simple fact that the issue of environmental responsibility is in itself not simple. We have been quite literally inundated with facts and alternative facts. We are plagued by confusion. But don't give up. Answers that can clarify the questions are available. So what can we do? One thing is to become better informed. When looking to build or remodel your home, what are the more environmentally responsible choices available to you? One answer is to go on the internet and ask questions. Another is to ask the businesses you have contacted how responsible are their goods and services to the environment. Ask them to explain and demonstrate how their goods and services tackle this difficult issue of environmental responsibility with straightforward answers. Well, returning to issues of social injustice, we can recognize that the plague against women stems from a lack of equal and fair employment. Besides the obvious businesses who provide responsible products and services for the home or office, there will be, for example, one individual who has established a business of hiring women in economically devastated countries, transforming such things as discarded Cheetos bags into trendy handbags that are stylish and provide a much-needed income for this country's women, who under the current economic system that rules their country would have kept them in abject poverty. Another individual transforms old VCR tapes by knitting the old tape into stylish handbags. So, some would sound the alarm of environmental disaster as a death knell for this world. For them, it is all doom and gloom. They preach a sense of despair and inevitable tragedy. For them, the future is to be cut short by the greed and indifference of humanity. For me, I take pride in the changes we as a society are making. I see the efforts by our elected representatives who are sending a message to the auto manufacturing industry to produce cleaner burning cars and trucks, for vehicles that help to reduce pollution and our dependence upon fossil fuels. I look around and see the plagues of today, but I also see the steps we are taking as a society to find cures for these plagues. Have we found all the cures? No. Are we managing the disease? Well, in some instances, yes, but we still have a long journey ahead of us. This is the journey upon which we all are traveling. Let us make the conscious decision to do so together. As I opened this thrash, I shared with you words of the great Hillel. I would like to close with words from the Talmud, once again from the book called The Ethics of the Fathers. The music is by the contemporary Jewish composer Craig Talmud, and the words say, Yad b'yad, hand in hand, echad im hasheni. Hand in hand, one with another, as one people with one heart, we bear the burden of the world and are ignited as one people. Hand in hand, we bear this burden. Im ein kemach ein Torah, im ein Torah ein kemach. For if there is no sustenance, there is no Torah. And if there is no Torah, there can be no sustenance. Yad b'yad, echad im hasheni, am echad im lev echad, kenanu nadlik masuad olam, nadlik am echad, yad b'yad echad echad, kenanu nadlik, im en kemach ein Torah, im en Torah ein kemach, im en kemach ein Torah, im en Torah ein kemach. It can be you, it can be me, it can be all the people all over the world, lending, caring, sharing hand in hand. It can be you, it can be me, it can be all the people all over the world, lending, caring, sharing hand in hand, lending, caring, sharing hand in hand. And now I invite Linda Blessing Game to share with us any announcements.
Not very many, but very long. The first one is religious school and confirmation class will resume on Sunday, January 24th. We will celebrate our traditional Tu B'Shvat with Rabbi John Kaplan at Mobile Medical Museum. Students and their families are asked to arrive by 11 a.m. And for health and safety purposes, a Seder will be held with fruits and juices, and they will be packed in individual containers for each student. Please bring a blanket to sit on the grass with your family members, and only sit with your family members, please, so that social distancing is in place. Don't forget to wear a mask. We will have masks available in case you need one. Nuts will be available for those students who request them if the parents approve. And we will also share this event via Zoom and really encourage all Temple members to attend. I think you're in for a treat. I can't tell you the time and energy that Rabbi Kaplan and Patricia have put into this. And the last thing that Patricia said to me today was, I'm really tired. You can find the sign-in information in yesterday's kind notes or on the Temple website under current events. And in case of rain, the event will be held on Sunday, January 31st. You are also invited to attend Eric Mendelsohn, synagogue architect with a vision, on Monday, February 8th at 5:30 p.m. and that's Central Standard Time via Zoom. This event is brought to you by our Adult Education Committee. Photographer Michael Palmer will give a presentation on the American German Jewish architect Eric Mendelsohn and the 4 synagogues that he built between the years 1946 and 1953. As a foundation for discussion about Mendelsohn, his Jewish identity, and his architectural mission, Palmer will include photographs from his book, Eric Mendelsohn's Synagogues in America. A detailed notice was emailed to all the members, and more will follow as we approach the event date. The Mobile Area Jewish Foundation is one of the sponsors of a week of unity and service that honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The first event was held on Thursday, and it will continue on January 26th at 5:30 p.m. with the film entitled Never Been a Time, followed by a student-led discussion about the film. And it will include a panel discussion about social and economic justice, as well as a community food drive. The event will be hosted by the University of South Alabama, and you can refer to this week's kind notes for more information and a link for online registration. The next tour study is with Rabbi John Kaplan, and it's Wednesday, January 27th at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. I'm going to call on Gil, if he will, unless David Rosen is on, to talk about a special dedication that's going to happen on Monday at the Magnolia Cemetery. Gil?
Thank you, Rabbi. I appreciate it. This coming Monday, which coincides with the 177th anniversary of the formal organization of the temple, there will be a dedication that was put in place with the help of David Rose, who's our cemetery chair, as well as a board member of the Friends of Magnolia. And the dedication is for a plaque to honor the Jewish section of Magnolia, which was called Jewish Rest. And that was actually given to our congregation 3 years before we formally came into being in 1841. And Rabbi Kaplan will be doing a blessing there. The various members of the cemetery committee will be there, as well as I mentioned, Friends of Magnolia, and also individuals from the Ben May Charitable Trust, who has benefited us over the years, including most recently with a wonderful grant in the month of December. And so hopefully the weather will cooperate, and we look forward to sharing in with and solidifying our historic relation with the Magnolia Cemetery. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Gil. And finally, I do have an announcement to make as well. Next Friday night, the Torah portion, B'Shalach, it's a very special Shabbat. That is also known as Shabbat Shirah, the Sabbath in song. And I am going to be joining with Christopher and Molly for a sermon in song that we are in the process of developing, and it's going to be a special Shabbat. And of course, that Shabbat will probably have a little bit more music in the service. So invite all of you to participate and to attend. That'll be next Friday for Shabbat Shirah. But this Friday, this Shabbat, is not a time of peace for everyone. It's not a time of wholeness, which is what we speak of when we speak of refuah shlema, to pray that someone has a wholeness of their body and of their spirit. And so as we pause for just a moment in anticipation of our prayer of healing, I would invite Linda to read, if she will, Linda, the list of our congregation for the Misha Berach list. Thank you.
Our prayer for healing this month includes Paul Bradley, Raphael Breen, Jerry Woodrow Dobbins, Harold Fink, Marcia Jacoby, Ellie Kromers, Yetta Lee, Robin Mayer, Murray Muchnick, Mark Siegel, and Mark Sorensen.
Thank you. And I would like to give each of you an opportunity at this time now to unmute yourself and to share with us a name of a loved one or a friend that's in your hearts at this time.
Ariana Carter and Bruce Glover.
Thank you.
Jennifer Sundberg.
The parents of Tracy Anderson who are struggling with COVID.
Oh, so sorry.
My neighbor, Ann Blaze.
I don't know if that came through. No. Molly was going to add now.
Victor Kubi and Lola Reyes, who are both struggling also with COVID. They're Andy's brother and grandmother.
Oh, thank you. And I would also add the names of Sid Bronkman, Dr. Charles Page, Steve Wechter, Barbara Bell Wechter Perry, Carol McCullough, Bert McCullough, and Jane Adelson. To their names, we share together on page 34 both the prayer and song. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And to this prayer may we say, Amen.
May the source of strength, the
And now we continue on page 35 with the closing portion of our service, as together we rise, reading first in English and then joining in the Hebrew in the middle of the page. Let us now praise the Sovereign of the universe and proclaim the greatness of the Creator, who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else. Therefore we bow in awe and thanksgiving before the one who is sovereign over all, the Holy and Blessed One. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגמור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. If you're standing at this time, please, I invite you to be seated. I'll be reading on page 38. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. I now invite Linda Blassingame to unmute yourself, please, to share with us the list of names on our cottage list, please.
Yard sites this week include Susan Sparks, observing this yard site, Mr. and Mrs. Richard Hill, Mildred Gandler, observing this yard site, Mr. and Mrs. Harvey Gandler, Harry Paper, observing this yard site, Mrs. Barbara Paper, and Jack Silverman, observing this yard site, Mrs. Shirley Silverman.
And now I invite each of you to unmute yourself to share, should you wish, a name from your heart.
Joe Fisher and Mark Smith.
Dr. Emmanuel Glass.
Leonard Ray Wheeler.
Dr. Melvin Kossover, and that's all for now.
Okay, thank you, Melvin. To the list of names that we have shared with one another, I would like to add the names of all those whose lives were lost as we struggle with this devastating effect of the COVID-19 pandemic. We also call to mind the names of those men and women who lost their lives in the service of our country, whether through military service, law enforcement, or frontline medical workers. And to the names of those spoken aloud, we also include the unspoken names we carry with us in our hearts. For all the names we have spoken aloud, for all the names we hold close to our hearts, and all the memories, the blessed memories that fill our lives that have stemmed from them, we rise as one congregational family and join together in the mourner's Kaddish on page 43. Together we say, Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Be'olma divrach chirutei v'amlich malchutei B'chayechon u'v'yomechon U'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Ba'agala levizman kari v'imru Amen Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevorach Le'olam ul'olmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu le'ela min kol b'yirchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran be'olma v'imru amen Yehei shlomo rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'akol Yisrael, Yeru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. What a beautiful evening of music this has been tonight. Thank you so much. My goodness. And now we join together in the words of the Kiddush. If you have your Kiddush cup handy and wish to lift it aloft and to join with me on page 44. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pori hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikrahei kodesh zecher letziyat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta V'yotanu kidasha mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat L'chaim. That's wonderful. And now if you'll grab your little piece of challah or your whole piece of challah, whatever you might be having at hand. I'll invite Christopher and Molly to share with us, to break bread as it were. Can we go ahead? Christopher, feel free to.
We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices join in song together as our brothers gently said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Good Shabbos, everyone. And now, as our closing song, Molly gets a chance to let Andy have a piece of challah. Don't run up. We've got time. We now join in the words that we ended the Kaddish with, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, which you'll find on the bottom of page, or in sort of the middle of there, of page 43, our song of peace.
Say shalom, bimromav, say shalom, Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen. Say shalom, bimromav, say shalom, Aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru,
Good Shabbos, everyone. Unmute yourself. Good Shabbos. Let's share in this wonderful Shabbos evening.